My dear friend, have you ever prayed with everything in you and still felt nothing? You folded your hands. You cried. You whispered words you could barely speak aloud. You begged for comfort, for presence, for even a glimpse of peace. But when the prayer ended and the silence returned, so did the ache. The same hollow space inside your chest. Nothing changed. Not outside you. Not within you. And that silence? It was louder than any answer you hoped to hear. Maybe you thought, is my faith too small? Did I say the wrong words? Did I do something wrong? Or maybe, like many of us, you began to wonder if God had heard you at all. You weren't asking for a miracle. You were just asking not to feel alone. It's a quiet kind of suffering, isn't it? The kind you don't speak about out loud. Because people expect you to say, I feel better now. They expect peace to follow prayer like thunder follows lightning. But what if it doesn't? What if the storm stays? And God seems silent? We don't often admit this, but I'll say it now. There are seasons in life when prayer feels like shouting into the void. You want to believe God is listening. You need to believe He's near. But your soul feels dry, and the heavens feel closed. You hear others speak of breakthroughs and answered prayers, and you nod politely while secretly asking, what's wrong with me? But what if the silence isn't punishment? What if it's not absence at all? What if, just maybe, God is closer than you think, sitting with you in that silence, not speaking? Because sometimes love doesn't have to. Maybe that emptiness is not a failure of faith. Maybe it's the doorway to deeper trust. Trust that isn't based on emotion or experience or what you can feel in the moment, but on the quiet, anchored knowing He is still here. I know this might not be the comfort you were hoping for, but if your soul still feels empty after the prayer, you're not alone, and you're not broken. You haven't failed God, and He has not forgotten you. In fact, what you feel as emptiness might just be holy ground. It might be where He meets you most deeply, not with answers, but with presence, not with noise, but with stillness, not with immediate rescue, but with His quiet, unfailing companionship. So breathe. Don't rush away from the silence. It could be that God is closer now than you've ever imagined. Right there, in the space where no one else sees. Still, faithful, waiting with you, and loving you, even when you feel nothing at all. Her name was Grace, a mother, a nurse, a woman of faith. For years she served others, both in her job and in her home. Her hands were always full, her heart always open. But nothing had prepared her for the night her world collapsed. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. A car accident, a phone call, a scream that never seemed to end. Her only child, her 17-year-old son, Caleb, was gone in an instant. One breath, one heartbeat, and then nothing. The funeral came and went like a blur. Friends brought casseroles, and flowers and words that meant well but felt hollow. He's in a better place. God has a plan. You're so strong. But Grace didn't feel strong. She didn't feel anything. Only numb. Empty. Hollowed out like the shell of someone who used to believe in miracles. One night, unable to sleep, she wandered into Caleb's empty room. She sat on the edge of the bed, holding his hoodie, breathing in what little scent still lingered on the fabric. And for the first time in her life, she prayed not with hope, but with despair. God, where are you? She whispered into the dark. No answer. Why did you take him from me? No reply. Why can't I feel you? Still, nothing. She didn't cry. She couldn't. She just sat there, unmoving for hours, waiting for some kind of sign, some flicker of warmth. But the room remained still. Cold. Silent. Days passed. Then weeks. Grace still prayed, but the words came out empty, like she was mouthing someone else's faith. She went to church. She smiled at the right times, nodded when others said, God is good. But inside she was slipping. quietly, invisibly. She felt like a woman walking through water, waist deep in grief, calling out to God with no echo in return. Then one night, months after the funeral, something shifted. It was late, well past midnight. The house was still. Grace was sitting on the floor of her kitchen, back against the fridge, knees pulled up to her chest. She didn't even try to pray this time. She just said one thing, softly. God, if you're there, I don't need a miracle. I don't need answers. I just need to know you're here. And in that moment, there was no flash of light, no angel in the room, no divine revelation, but something happened. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't warmth. It was a stillness. Not the cold silence she had known, but something deeper. A presence, quiet, like breath. Gentle, like hands that don't touch, but hold. It was as if someone was sitting with her in the kitchen, saying nothing, just being there. For the first time in months, Grace closed her eyes and didn't feel alone. She didn't get her son back. Her grief didn't disappear. But in that silent presence, something inside her cracked open. Not in pain, but in surrender. That was the night her healing began. Grace's story is not rare. It's just rarely spoken. So many of us sit in that same silence, believing we are the only ones lost in the void. But you are not alone. And even if you don't feel him yet, he's not absent. He's just closer than you can imagine, whispering not with words, but with presence. Beloved child, you've been waiting for my voice, wondering why your prayers echo back in silence, why your heart feels heavy after every whispered amen. But I need you to know, I have never left you, not for one breath. You thought silence meant absence, that I had turned my face from you. But I haven't. I was with you in the tears you cried when no one was watching. I was in the room when you fell asleep praying, exhausted by pain you couldn't name. I didn't come with lightning or thunder. I came with stillness, because your soul needed comfort, not spectacle. You see, there are places within you that noise cannot touch, wounds too deep for words. And so I chose silence, not to confuse you, but to sit with you in the depths. My presence has never been dependent on your emotions. I don't come and go based on how you feel. I dwell in you. I remain. Remember the garden, the one my son walked through the night before the cross, Gethsemane. Even Jesus cried out, "Father, take this cup from me." And I heard him. I was there. I didn't take the cup away, but I stayed with him in the agony. I sent angels to strengthen him. And just as I was with him, I am with you. I know you want answers. You long for light. You're aching to feel something, anything, that proves I am near. But sometimes, the greatest proof of my love is that I stay, even when you cannot see or feel me. You are not being ignored. You are being held. And what you call emptiness may actually be the spaciousness where I am making room for peace, for healing, for a deeper knowing of me. I am not fixing you like a broken thing. I am forming you like a sacred vessel, slowly, tenderly, eternally. You don't need to strive. You don't need to pretend. You only need to stay. Let me be with you here, in this moment, in this ache, in this prayer that feels like it goes unanswered. Let me be the one who doesn't need words to love you. Let me fill the silence with presence, not performance. And when your faith feels like a flicker instead of a flame, know that I still call it beautiful, because I see the courage it takes to stay, to keep showing up, to keep whispering my name, even through the tears. So be still, child, not because all is well, but because I am here, and that is enough. Maybe you've spent your life thinking that prayer should always come with fireworks, emotions that overwhelm you, clarity that lights your path, answers that come quickly. But what if the truest form of connection with God doesn't feel like fire, but like still water? What if healing begins, not when the pain leaves, but when you stop running from it, and simply let God sit beside you in it, There is something sacred about staying when you don't feel anything. It's a quiet kind of faith, invisible to the world, but precious to heaven. And perhaps it's in those silent moments, when your hands are empty and your heart is raw, that God is forming in you a deeper kind of trust, one that cannot be shaken by circumstance or silence. You may feel like your prayers have bounced off the ceiling, but what if they've actually been shaping you? What if every word you spoke into the dark was never lost, but planted? And now, quietly, slowly, something is growing beneath the surface. You don't see the roots yet, but they're there, taking hold, deepening, preparing. This is not wasted time. This is not spiritual failure. This is not a detour. This is the holy middle, the place between asking and receiving, between seeking and finding, between pain and peace. And yes, it feels like emptiness now. But one day, you will look back and realize it was preparation. It was sacred ground. Do not believe the lie that God only moves when you feel Him. Some of His greatest miracles are invisible. Some of His deepest works happen in silence. Some of His loudest love sounds like nothing at all. And maybe, just maybe, the emptiness you feel right now is not abandonment, but invitation. An invitation to know God, not just as a rescuer, but as a companion. Not just in answered prayers, but in unanswered ones. Not just in the light, but in the shadows too. You are not being punished. You are being remade. Not rushed, not forgotten, not pushed aside, but gently reshaped into someone whose faith is not shaken by feelings, but anchored in love. So take this moment. Breathe. Let go of the pressure to feel something. Let go of the fear that nothing is happening. Because something is happening. Something holy. Something hidden. Something eternal. You are being rebuilt. Not in spite of the silence, but through it. So now, dear soul, I invite you to pause, not to solve, not to strive, but to sit with all that still feels unanswered. Can you trust that God is still working, even when you can't trace His hand? Can you believe He is still near, even when your heart feels numb? Can you find peace, not in what you feel, but in who you belong to? You don't need to fake joy. You don't need to force faith. God is not disappointed in your struggle. He is not measuring your belief by how inspired you feel today. He's simply asking, will you stay? Will you rest with me here, in this quiet, uncomfortable, holy space? Will you believe that I am still writing your story, even when the pages feel blank? If you're willing, just a little, even with trembling hands and a weary heart, then whisper this prayer. Lord, I still feel empty. I still feel unsure, but I won't run away. I choose to stay in your presence, even when I feel nothing. I open this emptiness to you, not to be filled with quick answers, but to be filled with you. Meet me here, in the silence, in the stillness, in this sacred space. Let that be enough for today. Not a breakthrough, not a miracle, just the bravery of staying, just the stillness of presence, just the quiet trust that says, even here, even now, God has not let me go, and maybe, just maybe, that kind of trust is the beginning of everything.